The Invader Zim Iceberg, a video that delves into various levels of Invader Zim knowledge, ranging from widely known facts to obscure or even absurd entries. Joining us on our trip is Lucian from the Weekly Geekly and Deathcast. Lucian will be providing the narration for Layer 3. So please be respectful and make sure to give him a warm welcome. Quick shout out to the various Invader Zim Iceberg chart creators on screen who inspired me to create my own chart with some shared entries and even a few original ones as well. Without further ado, let's get started.
What does the G stand for? I don't know.
Cast cameos. Invader Zim is filled with clever cameos predominantly showcasing the talented crew responsible for the show's creation. In the early episodes such as The Nightmare Begins, Germs, Attack of the Saucer Morons, and The Wettening, we could spot the creator, Jonan Vasquez, making appearances. Moreover, director Steve Russell has also been seen in the mentioned episodes as well as in FBI Warning of Doom. In the episode Mysterious Mysteries, character designer Aaron Alexovich makes a cameo offering his suggestions for the next Mysterious Mysteries episode. Writer Frank Conniff also makes appearances in the episodes Hamstergeddon, where he meets an unfortunate fate under Ultra PP's crushing power, and in Door to Door, casually enjoying a cup of coffee. Additionally, Frank is referenced by name in the episode Attack of the Saucer Morons, as he accurately predicted the prophecy of Zim's arrival. In the episode Invasion of the Idiot Dog Brain, we could see writer Courtney Lilly. Jay Bondi, the color director, also makes an appearance in another episode, Battle of the Planets. Lilly narrowly avoids being crushed by Mars. Finally, Lily's last appearance in the series occurs in The Most Horrible Xmas Ever. Danielle Koenig also makes an appearance in The Most Horrible Xmas Ever, among others, as they listen to Dib's speech after he sends the Santa suit to space. In the episode The Girl Who Cried Gnome, Eric Trueheart makes an appearance advising Dib not to eat the muffins that Zim's Robomom made. Additionally, in the episode The Sad, Sad Tale of Chickenfoot, Dib mentions the name Trueheart while searching for Chickenfoot in an apartment. Writer Rob Hummel can be spotted on the milk carton in the episode Nightmare Begins and also appears as the enraged video store manager in FBI Warning of Doom. Roman Dirge, a writer and character designer, attended the parent-teacher night in the episode Parent-Teacher Night. He also made a cameo appearance in Walk of Doom and portrayed one of the Saucer Morons in Attack of the Saucer Morons. What's intriguing is that Roman has two distinct cameo designs, with the second one becoming visible later in the series, including the episode Hamstergeddon. Notably, this alternate version of him is featured on the back of the Invader Zim Volume 2 Progressive Stupidity DVD, proudly saying, "Now with 100% more dirge." In the episode Germs, Ron Jeremy can be seen in the back of McMeaty's while Zim and an employee discuss Space Meat. He also appeared as the cab driver in Walk of Doom and was in the background scene where he gave Steve Russell one of his hot dogs in The Wettening. Ricky Simons, the art director and voice of Gurr, makes a brief appearance in FBI Warning of Doom, where he can be seen holding a video disc at the video store. Tavisha Simons, the wife of Ricky Simons, had cameo appearances in 2 episodes of Invader Zim. The Most Horrible Xmas Ever, she could be spotted in the crowd next to her husband while Zim impersonates Santa Claus. Additionally, she made an appearance in Mortoaster Soul Stealer, where she is seen buying clothes at a rubber clothes store. I'm probably missing a few cameos, but I think you guys get the picture. There's a lot of cameos in this series. Enter the Florpus. Invader Zim Enter the Florpus is a 2019 movie that continues the storyline of the original Invader Zim series. Initially planned for airing on Nickelodeon, it was later released on Netflix on August 16th, 2019. The film features the return of the original voice cast, with series composer Kevin, I'm gonna butcher the last name so I'm not even gonna try, contributing to the musical score. Jenny Goldberg, known for her work on the Invader Zim comic series, serves as the art director for the film. Animation for the movie was handled by the Maven Animation Studio in South Korea. In the movie, Zim discovers that his leaders had no intention of coming to Earth, leading him to lose confidence in himself for the first time, which proves to be an opportunity for his human nemesis, Dib, who has been waiting for this chance. Hot Topic. Hot Topic, my all-time favorite store in the mall, Probably your sister's favorite store in the mall as well, whatever the hell that means. Is renowned for being a hotspot for counterculture-related clothing, accessories, and licensed music. It's especially famous for housing an extensive range of Invader Zim merchandise, including Gur hoodies, book bags, shirts, sweatshirts, pants, socks, belts, and various other items. It's quite insane to think about how much Invader Zim merchandise exists inside Hot Topic. Like, I just stopped at my local Hot Topic the other day, and there is still a little corner in the store featuring Invader Zim products. It's incredible. The Medium-Sized Book of Zim Scripts, Volume 1. Invader Zim writer Eric Trueheart wrote a book titled The Medium-Sized Book of Zim Scripts, Volume 1, Pigs and Waffles. The stories and the stories behind the stories of your favorite Invader. The book features scripts from some favorite episodes, stories behind the creation of those episodes, and tons of other features. The book was released on July 27th, 2020, and can be owned for $20, or you could do what I did and just buy it for the Kindle for like $8 on Amazon. Just a quick heads up, I'm going to be referencing Trueheart's book throughout this iceberg. So just be advised, when you hear me say Trueheart's book or Eric's book in future entries of this iceberg, I'm referring to the Medium-Sized Book of Zim Scripts, Volume 1. Pilot. The pilot episode of Invader Zim was produced in 1999, but it was not included in the show's original run. It was later made available to the public as part of the Doom 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 DVD on May 11th, 2004. Eventually, on December 24th, 2011, the pilot aired simulcast on Nickelodeon and Nicktoons as part of Nicktoons' Winter Funderland event. In the pilot episode, Dib discovers that Zim is allergic to the school cafeteria food. Seizing the opportunity, Dib initiates a food fight with Zim, who retaliates by creating a suit to fight back. However, the chaos leads to Dib being wrongfully blamed for the food fight and subsequently punished by having to write "Zim is not an alien" 1,000 times on a chalkboard. A notable aspect of this pilot episode is that Zim is the only main character whose voice actor differs from the proper series. Richard Stephen Horvitz, who typically voices Zim, was not the voice actor for this pilot. Instead, the role of Zim was voiced by Billy West. In contrast, Dib, Gaz, Gur, and Miss Bitters were all voiced by the same actors as in the actual series. Bloody Gur. Bloody Gur is a hidden Easter egg that makes sporadic appearances throughout Invader Zim. The character was drawn, covered in blood, by illustrator Chris Graham on a whim, and with the assistance of director Stephen Russell, they managed to sneak the drawing into a single frame of the episode Bad, Bad Rubber Piggy. This occurs when the final pig passes through the space-time object replacement device, and the portal briefly flashes white. You could spot Bloody Gur in the center of the swirling dust during that moment. In the episode Tack, the Hideous New Girl, during the scene where Tack finds Dib and Gaz in her lair, an eye of Bloody Gur is seen on Tack's shoe. Furthermore, Bloody Gur can also be confirmed to appear in the episode Mortoaster Soul Stealer during the opening sequence when the pipes appear. Now, according to Stephen Russell, Bloody Gur made several appearances in the last 14 episodes of the Invader Zim series. Gur Goes Crazy and Stuff, Backseat Drivers from Beyond the Stars, The Girl Who Cried Gnome, The Fry Cook What Came From All That Space, Zim Eats Waffles, Gaz, Taster of Pork, and the most horrible Xmas ever. Bloody Gur's presence in the episodes Mysterious Mysteries, Abducted, Hobo 13, Future Dib, Walk for Your Lives, Lice, Dib's Wonderful Life of Doom, Mega Doomer, The Voting of the Doomed, Vindicted, and Dib Ship Rising have been confirmed. However, the specific locations of Bloody Gur in these episodes have not been officially documented or widely known. It's possible that fans have spotted the Easter egg, but the wiki or other sources might have not been updated with the exact details of these sightings yet, though I never really trust the wiki when it comes to information like this, which is why I rewatched each episode to verify the locations of those Bloody Gur images that I mentioned before. It's worth noting that some fans have reported spotting the Bloody Gur Easter egg in episodes beyond the ones listed. Now, for the sake of time, because I have a strong feeling that this video will be over an hour long, I will throw the list of episodes and possible locations up on screen for you all if you're interested in checking out these episodes in search of Bloody Gur. However, this list is from the wiki, and it's crucial to note that these sightings remain unconfirmed by the creators. So as with any unverified information, it's advised to treat these claims as unconfirmed fan observations. The Room with a Moose. A Room with a Moose is the first segment in the 9th episode of the first season of Invader Zim, which premiered on August 17th, 2001, which is totally not important at all to this entry. I just like to be a little bit extra. Zim formulates a plan to get revenge on his classmates, especially Dib, by tricking them all into thinking that they're participating on a field trip. Eventually, Zim discloses to Dib that he has launched the bus into a mysterious wormhole heading toward an undisclosed destination. He presents 3 potential locations, one filled with very itchy gas, another full of pure dookie, and the last being his selected destination, a room containing a moose. The Room with the Moose is considered the most merciless and daunting realm to be confined in. Some may even prefer being trapped inside of hell rather than catching even a glimpse of that wicked moose. I mean, the moose itself isn't terrible, but it becomes a truly horrific sight when walnuts are thrown into the mix. Good God, oh my Lord have mercy. InvaderCon. InvaderCon is an Invader Zim fan convention run by Wasabi Anime, also known as Green Mustard Entertainment. InvaderCon was created to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Invader Zim, and the first event took place between March 26th and 27th of 2011 in Atlanta, Georgia. The event featured numerous panels, cast members reading scripts from unproduced episodes, fans were dressed up in costumes, and even some Nickelodeon representatives attended and were apparently overwhelmed by the turnout. While InvaderCon was only meant to be a one-time event, the success of the first one led to InvaderCon 2, DoomCon, which took place on July 28th and 29th, 2012 in Los Angeles, California. Same shenanigans, except series creator Jonan Vasquez decided to attend this event. The third and final event, titled InvaderCon 3, Final Doom, was funded via a Kickstarter set up by Wasabi Anime and took place in Austin, Texas on July 26th and 27th of 2014. It's worth noting that on March 30th, 2021, InvaderCon hosted a Twitch livestream celebrating the 20th anniversary of Invader Zim, and it featured cast members like Richard Horvitz, Ricky Simons, Aaron Alexovich, and more. Although InvaderCon 3 was intended to be the last InvaderCon, fans as well as Wasabi Anime have continued to express interest in doing another event. In fact, there was supposed to be a 4th event in Boston, Massachusetts on August 7th and 9th of 2020 as part of Fan Expo Boston, but unfortunately the pandemic set back the event, ultimately leading to its cancellation. Comics. Invader Zim is also an American comic book series created by Jonan Vasquez. It's essentially a continuation of the animated series. On February 20th, 2015, Oni Press had decided to partner with Nickelodeon and original creator Vasquez to bring Zim back to life in the form of a comic book series. From July 1st, 2015 to March 18th, 2020, 50 issues of Invader Zim were published. Soon after, a new series titled Invader Zim Quarterly released in June of that year, and on April 5th, 2021, it was announced that the Invader Zim comic series would completely end with the publication of a special comic titled The Dookie Loop Horror in August of that year. The series was written and illustrated by a lot of the original Invader Zim crew, like Jonan, Eric Trueheart, Ricky Simons, Aaron Alexovich, and more. There are also deluxe hardcover editions of the comics listed online, which look really cool, and I kinda wanna buy them. What does the G in GIR stand for? Unlike SIRs or standard issue informational retrieval units, the acronym GIR does not have a clear meaning for the G in its name. However, it's speculated that the G might stand for garbage, since GIR was assembled by the tallest using random and haphazardly gathered parts. And that was layer 1. Yippee. Haha. Okay. There's a notable number of unfinished episodes from Invader Zim, and it might even be an understatement to call it just a handful. The series has quite a substantial collection of episodes that were either left incomplete or never reached the production stage. To handle this information, I've created a dedicated layer where I will provide concise plot summaries for each of these episodes. Additionally, I've included details on whether these episodes were recorded, animated, written, or merely in the brainstorming phase. This layer is quite extensive, spanning around 4 pages in my script, so for those of you interested in delving into these unreleased Invader Zim episodes, please continue listening. However, if you'd prefer to skip this part entirely and proceed to layer 2, skip to the timestamp on your screen. And if you're watching this during the premiere, I'm sorry. sorry, you don't have the option to skip. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Now, a lot of these episodes are confirmed by the Invader Zim crew to be real, whether as concepts, unfinished episodes, audio recordings, scripts, etc. However, some of these unfinished episodes that I'm going to mention were listed on the Invader Zim wiki, so they might vary in authenticity. It's difficult for me to track down the sources of some of these alleged episodes, so bear with me. I'll begin with the confirmed to be real episodes and work my way down to the more questionable ones, which I only think there's like 2 on this list that I'm just not 100% certain about. However, if any of you are familiar with some of the incomplete or unreleased episodes that I'm going to mention and can share sources that confirm their existence, such as interviews or related references, please feel free to provide that information in the comments below. So let's start off with the episode 10 Minutes to Doom. During recess at school, Zim's pack gets disconnected when hit by a dodgeball. Dib steals it to investigate it, and Zim reveals he could only live 10 minutes without his pack equipped. The pack ends up attaching itself to Dib's chest, causing him to behave like Zim due to their souls battling for control of the body. Zim, deteriorating rapidly, seeks help from none other than Gaz, explaining his predicament and tricks her into thinking Dib stole her game slave too, to convince her to save him. Gaz drags Zim to her house, forming an alliance. Meanwhile, Dib, under the pack's influence, finds the professor building robots to end world hunger. Gaz and Zim rush to rescue Zim's soul, while Gaz expertly fights her brother. Destructio, a robot reprogrammed by Dib under the influence of the pack, threatens to end all life on Earth. Gaz knocks the pack off of Dib, saving Zim and herself. Zim revives, but forgets to thank Gaz, leading to a chase as Gaz seeks revenge. Meanwhile, Dib tries to stop Destructio from taking over the world. There would have been a timer at the top corner of the screen as well, counting down from 10. The voices for this episode were recorded, but the episode was never finished. Now, there was an original ending to this unfinished episode, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Next up, we have Invader Punchy. To divert suspicion that he's an alien, Zim hatches a plan to frame Punchy, a classmate, as the real Urkin invader. He plants Urkin technology in Punchy's room to deceive Dib into believing Punchy is an alien. Zim disguises himself as a member of the Swollen Meatball conspiracy group to oversee the situation from his ship. However, Zim's smugness turns to horror when he discovers that Punchy possesses one of his dangerous superweapons disguised as a video game. Zim intervenes just in time to prevent Punchy from wreaking havoc on the planet with the game. As a result, Dib is sent to jail, and the police end up eating Punchy's dinner. As with 10 Minutes to Doom, Invader Punchy's audio was recorded, but the episode was never finished. We also have the episode Mopiness of Doom. In an attempt to defeat Zim, Dib uses a fake freezing talisman that backfires, leading him to question his role as a paranormal investigator. Dib decides to pursue real science like his father, Professor Membrane. Zim, now without a nemesis, feels lost and unmotivated. Dib excels in science, leaving Zim longing for their rivalry. Dib embraces his new path while Zim struggles with his sense of purpose. Eventually, the two reignite their feud, and life goes back to normal. The audio for this episode was also finished. Now, Soapy Waffles, a fan group dedicated to animating unfinished episodes of Invader Zim, was working on completing this episode that was initially planned to premiere at InvaderCon 2, DoomCon. However, it got delayed and was expected to release around Christmas of 2012. And on Christmas Day, Soapy Waffles uploaded the full episode, although some parts of the animation remained unfinished, either lacking color or being presented as storyboards. As of 2023, a version with fully finished animation has not been released, but the version with the unfinished animation is available to view on their YouTube channel, and I will put it up on screen if you guys want to check it out. In the unfinished episode, Nubs of Doom, Zim creates Mini-Moose, hoping he will be the ultimate henchman to replace the failure that Gur turned out to be. Originally planned to air before the Most Horrible Xmas Ever, the episode got cancelled due to the series' abrupt end. The animation team was allowed to complete one more episode, and they decided to choose the Christmas special. Mini-Moose is similar to Gur in being a small and cute sidekick for Zim, but that's where the resemblance ends. Mini-Moose communicates solely through squeaks and neigh sounds. This episode would have also served as the second time that Zim had ever declared a moose to have failed him, the first time being the episode A Room with a Moose. The audio for this episode was recorded, however, just like the previous episodes, the animation was not completed. Next up we have Return of Keith, which is about Zim trying to make Dib explode with happiness using a blue liquid, but fails as Dib claims he's never happy around Zim. Keith believes that Zim and Dib are friends and irritates them with misguided attempts to reconcile their friendship. Zim and Dib end up teaming up to get rid of Keith using a brain rotter on him, but making him truly happy proves difficult. Finally, Dib and Zim hug each other to make Keith explode, but that doesn't really matter because he recovers quickly. Keith would have also learned in this episode that Zim is an alien, and Dib even reveals to Zim that he recorded his alien confession, but they destroy the tape since it also shows them hugging, which neither of them want the public to see. Lines were recorded, but no animation. Next we have Robo-Parents Gone Wild. After a power surge, Zim's robo-parents go haywire and kick him out of his base for being naughty. They replace him with Dinky, a monkey/badger hybrid abducted from a zoo. Homeless and desperate Zim seeks guidance from a hobo in a boxcar who advises him on regaining his base. Following the hobo's advice, Zim disguises himself as Dinky by wearing the hobo's beard. He returns to his base, which is now in ruins. Pretending to be Dinky, he manipulates the robo-parents by acting wild and destructive, tricking them into giving him a hug. Zim then fixes the robo-parents and regains control of his base. The audio for this episode was recorded, but there was no animation made. Next up, we have Simon Says Doom. Zim joins a program to help at a local orphanage, but Dib suspects he has ulterior motives. While looking after the orphans, Zim realizes they obey him when he says, "Simon says." Zim's true plan is to use the orphans to destroy the city, but Dib intervenes and makes them disobey Zim's orders. Dib ultimately stops Zim by preventing a core meltdown in the baby changing room, but has to clean the mess by hand. Zim claims that distracting Dib was his real plan all along, even though it wasn't. And as Zim celebrates his apparent victory, Dib tricks a monstrous kid into hugging him. In case you guys have this video on while you're doing something else like washing the dishes and you cannot see your screen right now, I just want to let you all know that the audio from the first 7 episodes that I just discussed are available to listen to on YouTube. The audio for these unfinished episodes I believe were originally from the Special Features DVD on the House box set, which we're going to talk about later in this video. But for those of you who want to listen to the audio from these unfinished episodes who don't own the Special Features DVD, again, you can find them on YouTube if you just search Invader Zim Unfinished Episode Audio. Here is the playlist with all of the videos. They were uploaded by a person named Amber, so please thank Amber, and definitely give them a listen if you haven't already. Now next up, we have an episode titled When Pants Ruled, or just Pants. It was an idea for an episode that Eric Trueheart confirmed in his book. This idea was pretty much reused for issue 8 of the comic series. The story opens with Zim and Gur awaiting a response from organic-looking pants aliens for an alliance. Meanwhile, Dib, riding a Segway named the Dibmobile, is oblivious to the fleshy-looking pants epidemic at school. When confronted by pants zombies, Dib seeks refuge in a closet but is attacked by a pod. Groina rescues Dib and they team up to fight the pants invasion. They discover a pants origin point and confront Zim, who's plotting a pants-driven scheme. Dib and the Pants Queen, or the Uber Trouser, ally to thwart Zim's plan. A fierce battle ensues, leading to Zim's defeat and unintentional salvation of humanity. The humans are freed from the Pants influence, Groina reunites with her friend, and Zim and Dib go home. The reason why this episode never aired was because the network told Jonan to leave it be due to it being similar to an episode of Jimmy Neutron being planned at the time, which was the episode When Pants Attack. Although if you've seen the Jimmy Neutron episode When Pants Attack and you've read issue 8 of the Invader Zim comic, you'll know that they're not really that similar. In fact, there are a lot of key differences to each plot. During various Invader Cons, Eric Trueheart shared intriguing tales about Beefus Megabombus, an episode idea for the 2nd season of Invader Zim. The concept allegedly revolves around Zim discovering a colony of unique bees residing on the back of his house. Unlike ordinary honeybees, these extraordinary creatures are colossal, shanty-singing pirate bees that gather beef instead of pollen. As a result, their hive is an extraordinary structure entirely composed of meat. Zim must now figure out a way to deal with this unusual situation and rid himself of the beef-gathering bees. Now, I won't lie, a hive made entirely out of meat sounds pretty awesome in my opinion. However, even if the series wasn't cancelled, it's unclear if this episode would have even made it into production since it was an early idea that the Zim crew floated around. Another idea for an episode was called Burrito King. While the story for the episode was never revealed, the Burrito King restaurant was featured in issue 18 of the Invader Zim comic book series. The simple synopsis for the comic is that Zim decides to conquer the Burrito King restaurant, kicking out the owner and declaring himself the Burrito King. The issue's story was written and produced by Eric Trueheart, possibly hinting that the episode's story was adapted in the issue, since Vasquez mentioned on his Tumblr that Trueheart apparently wanted to write a similar story during the show's running. There's also Squishy, Hugger of Worlds, which only had an outline written. In this unaired episode, a gargantuan alien named Squishy spreads joy by hugging planets, but unintentionally destroys them in the process. Squishy then sets his sights on Earth, leading Dib to worry about its fate, while Zim fears losing his chance to be an official invader if someone else destroys Earth. So Zim and Dib compete to stop Squishy, with Zim wanting to redirect him to hug the sun instead. Meanwhile, an armada of races from the planets that Squishy had destroyed plans to blow up his next target to make him sad. The original ending, as described in Eric Trueheart's book, had Dib persuading Squishy to leave Earth by telling him that no one likes him, leaving the alien feeling sad. However, Nickelodeon executives deemed this ending too mean and was replaced. In the revised version, Zim convinces Squishy to peacefully leave Earth, making Dib frustrated at Zim being seen as the hero. Eric Trueheart revealed in his book that him and Ricky Simons were writing this episode before being called into the main space of their office for the announcement of Zim's cancellation. The cast of Invader Zim read the script for The Trial at InvaderCon 2, and concept art was released for this episode as well. The basic plot for this episode is that Zim undergoes an existence evaluation to determine his fate in Urkin history. The Control Brains decide whether he should be remembered or erased as a defective Urkin. The Tallest manipulates the evaluation date to get rid of Zim faster. Meanwhile, Gur temporarily takes over Earth. During the evaluation, Zim's past and destructive actions are revealed, including darkening Urk and eliminating Urkin leaders. Surprisingly, the Control Brains declare Zim the most incredible Urkin ever due to the bad data from his pack. They let him briefly pilot the Massive, much to the Tallest's dismay. On August 30th, 2020, YouTuber Rainbot uploaded the Trial multi-animated project to their channel. The creation was made using the audio of the Invader Zim cast reading the episode script from InvaderCon 2, while tons of animators and artists worked together to craft the episode. I'll put it up on screen if you guys want to check it out. It's really cool. There was also a script reading at InvaderCon 1 for Day of the Spookies. In an attempt to neutralize Dib's belief in the paranormal, Zim devises a plan involving elaborate ghost suits. First, he pretends to be Big Feets, but that fails, so Zim enlists Scooge, Gur, and Minimoose to create ghost suits and haunt Dib's house. Dib calls the TV show Mysterious Mysteries, and they bring a ghost expert to the home. To avoid detection, Zim launches the expert into space, and Scooge takes his place. During the show, Scooge declares Zim, Gur, and Minimoose as real ghosts, giving Dib a fleeting moment of fame. However, Zim's suit malfunctions, revealing the scam. Mysterious Mysteries labels Dib a liar, and both Dib and Zim are taken away for testing. Apparently, Scooge has been living in Zim's basement since the Hobo 13 incident. Somehow, he managed to evade Zim's security system. It is suggested that Scooge never returned to Urk after conquering Blorch, indicating that he might have been exiled by the Tallest or fears the consequences of going back to his homeworld. Plastimar Rising was another unproduced episode of Invader Zim that was revealed in Eric Trueheart's book. The idea for the episode is that Zim and Gur torment residents in a desert trailer park with levitation pranks. Stranded in a desert after their ship runs out of fuel, they stumble upon a convenience store named the Plastimart. Intrigued, Zim discovers that the slush buckets there can serve as a substitute fuel. However, when he accidentally ingests some, he gets intoxicated and munches on Earth snacks that turn out to be safe for him. The store's attendant calls the police, leading to Zim's arrest. While tied up, the synthetic additives in the food cause him to emit a noxious gas, knocking everyone out, allowing him to escape. Gur returns with the abducted residents, pleading to be taken to another planet. Zim must fight through them to reach his ship and flee. Now we have Zim Choab's Fu. I hope I said that right. A proposed idea for an episode which never made it past the concept stage. Zim is targeted by a mysterious laser that engraves the words Zim Choab's Fu on the back of his head, leading to ridicule from other students. He tracks down a responsible alien on a space station who admits to doing it just for fun. Zim demands he stops, but the alien continues. In frustration, Zim destroys the alien. As he returns to Earth, he discovers the galaxies rearranged to spell Zim Moops Bloogies. According to Eric's book, the network unsurprisingly did not go for this episode. Top of the line is a scrapped dog show episode, and according to Eric's book, if the series continued, Tak would have turned up in this episode. Next up, we have Gur's Big Day. According to Eric's book, the first iteration of the plot was going to be about Zim sending Gur on an errand to go pick up some head cheese, whatever the hell that means. Along the way, they run into a man similar to Lenny from the Book of Mice and Men. His name is Bucky, and he has 2 bags of treasure, in quotes, which he wants to hide. Together, they learn the ways of love as they frolic around the city, having fun and getting into trouble. At the end of the day, Bucky goes back to the mental hospital that he escaped from, but learned something from his new friend Gur. What that is, I have no idea. Gur then returns home, not with head cheese, again, whatever the hell that means, but one of Bucky's bags which contains not treasure, but a lot of medical waste. Zim is angry and Gur doesn't mind at all. According to Trueheart, all versions of Gur's Big Day shared the same premise. Zim would send Gur out on a mission, but they would get very distracted. Luckily, Eric was eventually able to write a version of Gur's Big Day for the comic series. Next up, we have It Feeds on Noodles. Zim eats Chinese food at a local restaurant and undergoes a mysterious transformation which turns him into a vampire. However, instead of craving blood, he would be compelled to feed on noodles to sustain himself as a vampire. The episode's plot beyond this premise remains unknown, as neither the script nor the audio was ever completed or released. It can be assumed that the story would revolve around Zim's efforts to revert to his normal state, but specific details remain a mystery due to the episode's unfinished status. Now, I've seen a lot of fan art by some Invader Zim fans online pertaining to this alleged unproduced episode, which almost makes me believe that it was indeed a real scrapped concept. I just wish I could find an interview from the cast and crew to confirm this. Again, if any of you guys know anything, please let me know in the comments below. This is one of the episodes I'm just not 100% sure about. Speaking of episodes that I'm not sure about, we have one more episode to talk about, and the title is called Those. Apparently no complete script exists and very little is known about this episode besides Zim commanding an army of slightly larger than normal ants. God, I hate ants! Again, I'm not sure if this episode was ever mentioned by the cast or crew either. Maybe one of you guys can let me know in the comments if you know anything about It Feeds on Noodles or Those. But all of the previous episodes that I have mentioned were real, and there is proof to back up their existence, whether it was scripts, outlines, discussions, or audio. And that was the scrapped episode layer. Woohoo. Okay. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, Squee, I Feel Sick, and Filler Bunny. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, Squee, I Feel Sick, and Filler Bunny are all comic series created by Jonan Vasquez. What's interesting is that there are a ton of references to these comics inside of Invader Zim. It's speculated that Johnny C, also known as Nee, might have made several appearances in the background of a few episodes of Invader Zim, like The Girl Who Cried Gnome and the Halloween Spectacular of Spooky Doom, though any Nee cameos are not 100% confirmed to be real. There is an alien seen in the episode Abducted holding a Johnny the Homicidal Maniac comic though, which is a neat Easter egg. Moreover, the setting of Mystical Hill, where Nee and Devi have their inaugural date, is showcased in the episode Gaz, Taster of Pork. It's worth noting that Devi originates from Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and its spin-off I Feel Sick. Similarly, Squee is another spin-off stemming from Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Interestingly, in relation to Squee, Dib is observed wearing a shirt quite reminiscent of Squee's attire. And funny enough, Squee's teacher is also Miss Bitters. Although I don't believe she's called Miss Bitters in Squee. I could be wrong though, please let me know in the comments below if I am. Filler Bunny, another character from a series of the same name, is seen inside of a jar in the episode Dark Harvest, and on top of a dashboard on the bus in the episode Walk of Doom. The core concept behind Filler Bunny is that it was initially designed to occupy empty space, leading to its regular torment by unseen forces for the entertainment of readers. In the episode Dark Harvest, the breaking of the jar containing Filler Bunny exemplifies this theme. There are probably some other references or crossovers that I did not mention in this entry, so feel free to leave some more in the comments below. Head pigeons. Head pigeons is a disease that was mentioned only once in the episode Dark Harvest. The primary symptom and cause of the disease involve having a pigeon or pigeons nesting on one's head. To seek treatment, individuals would visit a nurse or another trained medical professional. Eventually, the bird would fly away and the patient would be considered cured. And just a random piece of trivia, you could see a head pigeon in Dib's garage in Enter the Florpus. Although it's not sitting on somebody's head, so I guess it would just be considered a regular pigeon. Valentine's Day Meet Tradition. In the episode Tack, the Hideous New Girl, it is disclosed that an unusual and unpleasant event took place, leading to a change in the tradition of exchanging cards and candies on Valentine's Day. Instead of the typical practice, students were compelled to distribute meat products as a result of this mysterious occurrence. If Miss Bitters feels uncomfortable sharing the details, then whatever happened must truly be disturbing. As much as I want to know what happened, I'm not going to ask questions. Now, personally, I'd prefer to be gifted with steak and other meats on Valentine's Day anyway. I mean, that just sounds like heaven. Yeah, candy is cool, but nothing beats a nice medium rare ribeye. Control Brains. Control Brains are one of the antagonists of Invader Zim. These sizable computerized brain-like entities were engineered by the Urkins to handle a wide spectrum of complex and rudimentary choices. They hold prominent positions within the Urkin Empire, wielding authority in matters of governance. One of their primary functions involves overseeing trials, referred to as existence evaluations for Urkin criminals, which I mentioned was a big plot point in the unproduced episode, The Trials. In this capacity, they assumed the roles of judge, jury, and executor. In instances of an unfavorable evaluation outcome, the brains eliminate the individual Urkin and wipe their pack's data clean, preventing any potential corruption of other Urkins. Now, allegedly, Jonan Vasquez stated in a DVD commentary that control brains are really just genetically engineered Urkins heavily altered to the point where they no longer require bodies, but if someone wants to verify that claim with me, who owns the DVDs, I'd greatly appreciate it. Until then, please take what I just said with a grain of salt. Lawrence. In Enter the Florpus, during the scene where Professor Membrane and Dib start dismantling Zim's army of robots, Zim exhibits a surprising reaction. As the robot parts fly by, Zim passionately calls out their individual names, including Spencer, Devon, Maria, and Lawrence. This unexpected display of naming and expressing sadness upon their destruction suggests that Zim had a certain level of attachment or care for these robots, especially Lawrence. Now, I do want to bring up the fact that in Enter the Florpus, it does kind of sound like Zim is saying Florence and not Lawrence, but according to the Netflix subtitles, Zim says Lawrence. I just wanted to bring this up because I saw a couple forums online debating whether Zim said Lawrence or Florence. To be honest, the Lawrence and Florence debate really reminds me of that dress discussion like a couple years ago where people were confused as to whether this dress on screen is gold and white or blue and black. Although it kinda does sound like Zim says Florence, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Zim said Lawrence. Membrane is an alien theory. A popular theory in the Invader Zim fandom is that the Membrane family, specifically Professor Membrane, might belong to an alien species like Urkins. This idea is fueled by observations such as Professor Membrane's choice to conceal his face beneath a large lab coat and goggles. Furthermore, his unrivaled intelligence and possession of advanced technology on Earth contribute to this speculation. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys are a believer in this idea or not. Personally, I don't really believe that Professor Membrane is an alien, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. Dib and Gaz are clones. There's another popular theory that states that Dib and Gaz are just clones of Professor Membrane, or at least Dib is. I have also seen a lot of popular rumors about Gaz being a real child or just another experiment of Professor Membrane. These ideas and theories stem from the fact that Dib and Gaz's mom is never present at all in the series, or even mentioned. Now, according to Eric's book, the truth of the clone idea was never formally decided. Jonan did at one point state that he might have Dib discover an empty jar labeled Mom in one of Professor Membrane's cupboards. However, a lot of things Jonan says are quoted as facts, when in reality, he likes to joke a lot. So, this theory is very much up in the air. Now, in another response to a fan inquiry, Trueheart also clarified that the speculations surrounding an episode revealing Dib as a clone of his father, as well as the notion of Zim and Gaz assuming the roles of Tallest Red and Purple, are indeed untrue. Louie. During the commentary of the episode Bad Bad Rubber Piggy, there was a joke character named Louie, suggested to replace Dib in the episode. Now, according to the wiki, Sean Cassidy was considered to voice Louie, but the idea didn't come to fruition due to Cassidy's high demands for the role and Nickelodeon's refusal to let Dib be killed off. However, in Eric Trueheart's book, it is clarified that the idea of killing Dib and introducing Louie was solely a joke made up by Jonan for the commentary. Jonan never seriously considered killing one of the main characters, as it was just meant to be a humorous remark. All main characters were off limits, but what does that mean for side characters? Well, that question might be answered in another entry. Rare overpriced toys. It is widely known that nostalgic shows like Invader Zim often give rise to a variety of stuffed animals and figurines. However, acquiring these vintage and scarce collectibles can be quite expensive, requiring a significant financial investment. Some figurine sets for Invader Zim are priced as high as $199. Jesus Christ! Oh, this gets even better, and there are even listings for figurine lots reaching as much as $800. Are you fucking kidding me? So anyways, if you're interested in any of these products, prepare to sell off your house, your car, your arms, legs, and kidneys. House Box Set. The Invader Zim House Box Set is a collector's set containing all of the Invader Zim episodes, both completed and in audio format only, released by Anime Works on April 19th, 2005. The set consists of the first 3 volumes, Doom Doom Doom, Progressive Stupidity, and Horrible Holiday Cheer, along with a rare special features DVD and a Gur figurine, all encased inside of a house-shaped box. If you're interested in buying this piece of history, well, good luck to you. I was very interested in buying this for myself, but Amazon has this product listed for $500. However, I did run into a couple of used ones on eBay for much cheaper, which sounds like such a contradiction because in the last entry I explained how most of the Invader Zim products on eBay are super duper fucking expensive, but for some reason the house box set is much cheaper on there. So I might just go grab a used one for myself, and I recommend you guys do the same if you're interested in this collector's set. 2015 logo change. The initial Invader Zim logo appeared in the 1999 pilot and was later updated for the series. However, in 2015, when Oni Press announced the Invader Zim comic book series, they introduced a modernized and cleaner version of the logo. This updated logo was subsequently used in the movie Enter the Florpus. Yippee-ki-yay, that was layer 2. Woohoo! Yeah! Alright.
I emptied it out. Emptied it? Why? To make room for the tuna.
Well, not technically the next layer. I've chosen to create a separate section dedicated to discussing some incredibly amusing memes that spawned from Invader Zim that were featured in previous charts. Crispy Dib. Crispy Dib is a short video uploaded by Marcus Shaw VA or Cook Discs 101 on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. I will never call it X. It's always going to be Twitter. Sorry, I'm just very angry. The 3D render was made by Lanto Eats Dirt, whose account is now suspended, while the title logo was made by Casanova NC0619. In the video, Zim, voiced by Marcus Shaw, inquires about someone ordering the Crispy Dib. The subsequent scene showcases numerous Zim clones jubilantly cheering and surrounding a blazing dib. Finally, the video concludes with a close-up of one of the Zim clones delivering an incredibly humorous line that left a lasting impression on me. The Uranium Core, a YouTuber, brilliantly incorporated the audio from the Crispy Dib video into an animated version, and the result is truly incredible. I highly recommend checking out both of these videos. When You. Marcus Shaw produced another popular meme titled When You. This meme features a 3D rendered Zim character T-posing with text at the top and bottom that repeats, Additionally, the Uranium Core uploaded an animated version of this meme as well, which adds to its appeal and looks fantastic. Not scientifically possible. In the movie Enter the Florpus, there's a memorable scene where Professor Membrane enthusiastically expresses his excitement for Peace Day. Surprisingly, a member of the audience claims to be even more excited than the professor himself, and in response, the professor swiftly dashes through the crowd at lightning speed to reprimand the enthusiastic audience member.
Not scientifically possible!
It's impressive how the audience member reacts quickly, managing to dodge the professor's scolding in the nick of time. Kudos to their lightning fast reflexes. Anyways, that's all the memes that I wanted to talk about. Let's get started with Layer 3.
The Mini Moose Inconsistency. Originally intended to debut in the incomplete episode Nubs of Doom, Mini Moose was introduced instead in The Most Horrible Xmas Ever due to the show's cancellation. Nubs of Doom was supposed to air just before the Christmas episode. However, due to the cancellation, the crew had to pick which episode they wanted to finish, and they ended up choosing the Christmas special. Subsequently, Mini Moose has become a reoccurring character in the comic series and held a significant part in the Netflix movie. But the fact that Mini Moose just showed up in the Christmas episode without a proper introduction probably made things a bit confusing for fans at the time. Membrane Shark Accident. In Enter the Florpus, it's revealed that as a child, Professor Membrane tried to make friends with sharks. However, it's implied that the sharks did not take a liking to Membrane, at least not his personality. They did enjoy his arms, though.
I know better now.
The Swollen Eyeball Network. The Swollen Eyeball Network is a dedicated group of conspiracy theorists and paranormal investigators fixated on all things supernatural, from aliens to Bigfoot and even ghosts. Among its members is Dib, who often finds himself embarrassed within the organization, notably in Zim Eats Waffles. Occasionally, they collaborate with Dib to combat Zim, as seen in Battle of the Planets. The organization's true scope, origins, objective, and even influence remain elusive, but indications imply greater potency than apparent. Members employ advanced technology, exemplified by hovering two-way camera video screens seen in Zim Eats Waffles. In Battle Dib, a subsequential audience gathered for Dib's presentation on Zim, though he inadvertently left behind the evidence he intended to show. Meekrob. The Meekrob, a celestial alien species from the planet of the same name, were targeted for conquest by Invader 10 under Operation Impending Doom 2. However, in the episode Mega Doomer, 10's mission faced a setback when a shipment of malfunctioning SIR units intended for Zim ended up at her base instead. Despite 10's plea for assistance, the tallest showed indifference and allowed her base to be destroyed, unfortunately, thus foiling her mission. They are sworn enemies of the Urkin Empire who can change their form at will. That's pretty freaky. The species make an appearance in the episode Dib's Wonderful Life of Doom, although they only appear in the episode as an illusion created by Zim to find out if Dib threw a f***ing muffin at him. The tallest die in Enter the Florpus. In Mexico in 2019, Vasquez confirmed that the tallest are dead, having met their demise in the Florpus hole, within the dimension of fire. This event likely occurred shortly after their last communications with Zib were disconnected. However, considering that Invader Zim exists within a floating timeline, their own current status remains the subject of debate and interpretation. Invader Zim. Invader Zim is an Urkin invader dispatched to an undisclosed planet for conquest. He stands out as one of the few Urkins with a non-traditional name. The first reference to Invader Zim was in issue 2 of Invader Zim's comic book series. Tallest Red mentioned him, prompting Tallest Purple to mistake him for Invader Zim due to the similarity in their names. Interestingly, in Enter the Florpus, it is Red who confuses him with Zim, in contrast to the comic's portrayal. Fun random fact, but in Japanese, Zim's name is pronounced Jim, due to the absence of the Z sound. As a result, there is no distinct difference between Zim and Jim when their names are spoken. This led to an interesting situation in the Japanese dub of Enter the Florpus, where Purple had to spell out their names to Red in order to clarify whom they were referring to. It's also kind of ironic that the tallest like Jim a lot, since Jim is shorter than Zim, which would normally put him lower in the Urkin's social hierarchy. The membranes are Mexican. Vasquez confirmed that Dib, his sister, and their father are Mexican. However, this aspect of their background was not mentioned in the show, as it did not serve the overall storyline. Why was there bacon in the soap?
I made it myself!
Lost 1999 3D sequence from pilot. In the original Invader Zim pilot, an animation test in 3D was created to showcase the sequence where Zim and Dib engage in a food fight within the school cafeteria. While screenshots of this 3D animation test have been discovered, a complete video remains elusive. In the original pilot episode, the food fight scene was depicted in 2D animation. In 2004, on a fan website, Room with a Moose and Gur, dedicated to Invader Zim, there were discussions with individuals involved in the DVD release who addressed inquiries about the 3D test animation. According to Meredith Mulroney, in response to the question involving whether the pilot or 3D test would be included in one of the DVDs, they responded with, "I already asked for it. I've asked for everything. Animatics, audio-only episodes, interviews, TV test spots, you name it. I've put in for it. Nick is currently hunting down all the stuff for us. Once I have more details, I'll let you know. It's not that we don't know about it, it's just that there have been some trouble tracking down the real and full up-resed versions of it. Other avenues of getting that are being followed. As of now, the 3D sequence has still not been recovered, but at least we can look at these photos and ponder." Former Almighty Tallists. Before Red and Purple became the tallest, there was the almighty tallest Miyuki and Spork, two cancelled characters that would have appeared in the unfinished episode The Trial. Miyuki was the first tallest female ruler and is considered the earliest tallest chronologically noted in the series. She played a significant role in commissioning the Massive during her reign. However, tragedy struck when she met her demise at the hands of the infinite energy-absorbing blob created by Zim during his time as a scientist at Vort Research Station 9 on planet Vort. This incident resulted in the dissolution of the alliance between Urkins and Vortians, as it was a pivotal event that caused tensions between the two races. Following Miyuki's passing, the almighty tallest Spork succeeded her, but his reign was short-lived, as he fell victim to the energy-absorbing blob as well. While it's unknown what Miyuki and Spork colors were going to be, fans have depicted them as blue and green. Vort-Urk Alliance. As mentioned earlier, the Vortians and Urkins once had an alliance working together at the Vork Research Station 9 laboratory to develop weaponry and military technology for the Urkin Empire. However, this partnership came to a tragic end when Zib created the Blob Monster, resulting in the deaths of Miyuki and Spork. In the aftermath of the attack, the Urkins unjustly blamed the Vortians for the incident, causing tensions between the two races. To assert their dominance and control, the Urkins assigned Invader Larb to conquest Vort, transforming it into Urk's primary military research prison. Games. A few Flash games were created based on the series. Dib's Nano Chase, Good Gur Gone Bad, Insanitation, The Doom Game. Additionally, Invader Zim characters have also been featured in other Nickelodeon Flash games. Oh god, you're gonna make me read this. Here's a list of most, if not all of the games featuring Invader Zim universe. Capture the Newbies, Nick Pals, Can't I Keep 'Em, Nick Seen It, Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawls 1 and 2, Nick Extreme Tennis, Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix, Kart Racers 3, Slime Speedway, Nick Lanes, Nick Party Blast, Nick MLB, Nick Nitro, Nicktoons A Shot of Love, Nicktoons Android Invasion, Attack of the Toybots, Dance Off, Clash On, Freeze Frame Frenzy, Pixel Town, SpongeBob featuring Nicktoons, Globs of Doom, Super Brawl Universe, Super Brawl World, Super Mini Puzzle Heroes Multiplayer. Dear God, that's a lot of games with Invader Zim. Thank you, Zeroomens, for letting me stumble my way through your script. Thank you for letting me collab with you. I appreciate all the viewers for checking this video out. I've been Lucian of the Weekly Geekly and Deathcast. Be good people.
I got chocolate bubblegum!
Tamagotchi. During the development of the show, Zim didn't have a name for a significant period. Eventually, Jonan Vasquez, the creator, decided to name the character Zim, which, interestingly, was the same name he had given to a Tamagotchi belonging to one of his past girlfriends. Jonan's take on ZADR. For fans who may not be aware, ZADR stands for Zim and Dib Romance, and it refers to a headcanon in which some fans imagine a romantic relationship between the characters Zim and Dib. Why? I have no idea, man. I just have no idea, but what I do know is this. At InvaderCon 2012, Jonan Vasquez was asked about his personal feelings regarding the ZADR concept. This is his response. Credit to YouTuber HyenaFan for uploading the following footage. The InvaderCon footage can be found in full on their channel.
It really just sort of put a spotlight on how so many of the fans are watching the show wrong. They say that once you make something, it's no longer yours, it's in the hands of whoever interprets it. Also wrong. Because the major tenets of the show are sarcasm, cruelty, and violence. Affection and warm, fuzzy things, anything that would inspire, "Aw, it's not in the show." It's just not in the show, so anyone responding to that in that way, there's something wrong with that.
The nature of Miss Bitters. Miss Bitters is a character known for her eerie and unsettling nature. Her movements were inspired by a combination of ghosts, snakes, and the velociraptors from Jurassic Park, contributing to her creepy demeanor. I did mention this previously in the video, but Miss Bitters also appears in Jonan Vasquez's comic series Squee, where she played the role of Todd's teacher. Considering that Zim is older than any living human, the possibility arises that Miss Bitters, being non-human, might be even older than him, further deepening the intrigue surrounding her character. According to the biography written by Eric Trueheart on the Nickelodeon e-card for Miss Bitters, which by the way we'll talk about the e-cards shortly, she is not a human who came to work at the school, but instead, she has always been there and the school was built around her. This adds to her enigmatic and mysterious presence. While in issue 15 of the Invader Zim comic series, Miss Bitters' true origin becomes a subject of speculation among her students during her absence. Several theories are proposed, but the most plausible one comes from Gretchen. Now, according to Gretchen's belief, Miss Bitters is an incredibly intelligent bug queen who orchestrated a plan for her servants to study human strengths and weaknesses. In this plan, the bugs initiated a war with the humans, resulting in significant losses for the insects. However, they eventually gained the upper hand and the humans had to retreat. To regroup and strategize, Miss Bitters and her remaining bugs burrowed underground beneath the school, biding their time to strike again in the future. Now, if Miss Bitters were indeed an insect queen, this would offer an explanation for her peculiar habits of being covered in cockroaches in earlier episodes of the show, and it could also account for her immunity to lice and the insect-like appearance of Nightmare Bitters, who happened to be the leader of the other doppelgangers. This might also explain how school was built around her. While we're on the topic of Miss Bitters, random piece of trivia, Miss Bitters also makes a cameo appearance in another Nickelodeon show, The Loud House, in the episode titled Link or Swim. In this surprising cameo, she appears as one of the elders at the pool. Despite her previous appearances in Invader Zim, where it was evident that she couldn't survive in the sun, this crossover episode shows her perfectly fine under the sunlight. Additionally, she is seen using a cane, which was never part of her character in the original show, and this episode also features other elders from various Nicktoons joining her in the pool scene. Mark Hamill Zim. During the development of the Invader Zim pilot, Mark Hamill, known for his role as Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, was initially the original voice of Zim. However, he was later replaced by Billy West for the version of the pilot that was eventually released to the public several years later. Subsequently, for the actual series, Richard Stephen Horvitz took over the role of voicing Zim. The character's voice underwent several changes during the show's development process, with Richard Stephen Horvitz ultimately becoming the iconic voice of Zim throughout the series. YouTuber Twisted Acrylic apparently purchased the original Invader Zim pilot scripts, artwork, recordings, and even a cassette tape featuring Mark Hamill as Zim, and the audio can be heard on Twisted Acrylic's YouTube channel, which I recommend checking out if you want to hear all of Mark Hamill's audio. Now, if you want my honest opinion, Mark did a pretty good job voicing Zim. However, his voice feels a little bit too sinister. I feel like his voice would make for a great villain in the Invader Zim universe though. Plus, I'm a little bit biased because I grew up hearing Zim with Richard Stephen Horvitz's voice. Keith's intended fate. Remember when I mentioned that Jonah never considered killing off a main character? Well, let's talk about the supporting character Keith. In the unfinished episode, Return of Keith, an interesting revelation occurs when Keith explodes out of happiness. Now, initially, the writers intended for him to die completely, but Nickelodeon did not permit such an outcome, so instead, they had to bring Keith back seconds later before he faints. This incident marked the second time the writers had contemplated Keith's demise, but Nickelodeon's policy against children's characters dying prevented them from executing the idea. The first instance was in the episode Bestest Friend, where Keith was originally intended to die when he fell off the building. Operation Head Pigeons. Operation Head Pigeons, and later Operation Head Pigeons 2.0, was an online campaign created by a group of devoted die-hard Invader Zim fans with an unwavering passion for resurrecting the series and bringing it back into production. The name for this campaign pays homage to the head pigeon's disease mentioned in the episode Dark Harvest. Very Important House. Very Important House was a pilot series created by Jonan Vasquez and Jenny Goldberg, who was a character designer for Rick and Morty and Star vs. the Forces of Evil for Disney XD. It would have followed an 11-year-old girl named Frawley, who moves into the Very Important House and suddenly finds herself in the role of caretaker of the universe. The pilot was in development for 4 years. However, the pilot was not picked up by Disney and the project was abandoned. Thankfully, some clips and footage have surfaced by Vasquez himself. Invader Dib. According to various online rumors, the last episode of Invader Zim was speculated to be a TV movie titled Invader Dib. In this rumored plot, Dib would manage to reach the Urkin Empire and instigate a full-fledged war, ultimately taking control. Another rumor suggested that Ten would be abducted by the Mikrob, leading to a heated war between them and the Urkins. In this version of the rumored plot, Zim, with Gaz as assistants, would emerge victorious over Dib, the Resisti and the Mikrob ultimately conquering Earth. In some versions of this speculation, Zim and Gaz would take over the Urkin Empire while Dib and their defeated adversaries would be banished to Saturn. However, according to Eric Trueheart, this special movie was never seriously considered, claiming that the name popped up as a joke and that any details are just rumors. This is a quote taken from Trueheart's book. Sorry, kids. This rumor is not true. There were never any plans for Invader Dib. And then he goes on to make sure that everyone understands the point that Invader Dib was never a real concept. Door-to-door cutscene. The episode Door to Door was initially scheduled to air on September 14th, 2001, but its release was postponed until March 29th, 2002. The reason behind the delay was due to the virtual reality scene in the episode, which originally depicted the Irken Armada causing devastation in New York City, with the Statue of Liberty partially submerged in the ocean. This imagery was deemed inappropriate given the real-life events of the September 2001 attacks. To address this concern, the scene was altered before the episode's US airing. However, by mistake, the uncut version with the New York scene was aired on March 29th. Meanwhile, in other regions like Latin America, Europe, and Australia, the uncut version continues to be broadcasted. Jonan Vasquez has stated that he enjoys the new scene better as he dislikes the idea of having a real-life city in the Invader Zim universe. Irken Defective. An Irken Defective refers to any Irken individual equipped with a faulty ID pack. As a consequence, they cannot be brainwashed or controlled by the Imperial control brains, making them unpredictable and considered dangerous by Irken standards. Due to their deviation from the norm, most defective Irkens face grim fates, often being sentenced to death or assigned to menial labor, such as janitorial work or serving as food service drones. To avoid any contamination of the extensive knowledge programmed into newborn Smeets, all defective Irkens undergo the removal of their packs and have their knowledge erased. This measure ensures the preservation of the pristine information within the Irken society. The most infamous defective Irken is Zim. If the episode The Trial was finished, we would have learned that Zim's pack is too much for even the control brains to handle, driving them insane and declaring Zim the best Irken ever. Now, while not officially confirmed, there is considerable speculation that Tak might be considered defective as well. This speculation arises from her distinctive behavior, such as wearing unique clothing items and possessing a differently styled ship compared to typical Irken spacecraft. Her personality is quite erratic as well, in case you couldn't tell. Bob, the service drone who appears in the episode Hobo 13, stood up to the tallest for their mistreatment of their subjects, leaving me to believe that he's also a defective. Lastly, the comms officer from Enter the Florpus. The officer's possible defectiveness becomes evident as he gradually stops addressing Red and Purple as my tallest, and instead refers to them simply as sirs. This shift in language occurs when he repeatedly attempts, in vain, to make them listen to reason and avoid the Florpus hole. The moment that seems to solidify his loss of respect for his leaders is when they overrule him and mock his concerns, leaving him visibly annoyed by their antics. Detroit. Though not officially confirmed to be set in Detroit, there is speculation that the city in Invader Zim may be located in or around Detroit. In issue 33 of the comic series, it is mentioned that the city's location is somewhere in the mainland United States. Additionally, a map accessed by Almighty Tallest Red suggests that the city is located somewhere near Ontario, Canada, which is situated above the state of Michigan where Detroit is located. These clues have led to the speculation that the show's setting might be in the vicinity of Detroit. However, in an old defunct Invader Zim webpage on the Australian Nickelodeon website, there was a flash file related to the series. When the Earth was selected in the flash file, the location zoomed in and quickly implied that the events of Invader Zim occur in Quebec, Canada. But as previously mentioned in the door-to-door cutscene entry, Jonan Vasquez has stated that he dislikes the idea of having a real-life city in the Invader Zim universe, so it's most likely that the location of Invader Zim isn't specific, but that it takes place somewhere in this region of the United States. E-cards. E-cards are digital versions of traditional greeting cards sent online through email or social media. They feature visually appealing designs and messages, making them a popular choice for expressing well wishes and sentiments on special occasions. In case anybody didn't know what an e-card was, there you go. Now, according to Tumblr user Hideous Spacebug, during the time when Invader Zim was still airing, the Nickelodeon website offered e-cards related to the show. Fans had the opportunity to purchase, in quotes, and trade these cards for Nick points, or equivalent rewards. This feature was not limited to Invader Zim, as Nickelodeon also had e-cards available for other popular shows like Avatar and SpongeBob, providing fans with a fun and interactive way to connect and share their love for their favorite series. The e-cards displayed characters from the Invader Zim series and included background information such as their favorite hobbies, the episode they were featured in, and other interesting little details as well. Ricky Simons' asthma. The coughing fits Gur has whenever he drinks something in Invader Zim are due to Ricky Simons, the voice actor for Gur, having a mild asthma reaction from making the slurping noises for the character. Mr. Scollix, or Scollix, I hope I'm saying that right. Mr. Scollix, or Canker Scollix, is Jonan Vasquez's pen name. So if you ever see anything written by Mr. Scollix or Canker Scollix, it's just Jonan Vasquez using a fancy little pen name. The Membrane Family Puppy. In the episode featured Dib, Professor Membrane gives specific instructions to Dib and Gaz. He tells Dib to brush his teeth and not steal, while instructing Gaz to feed the puppy. Gaz's response to the puppy's instruction is, "Oh yeah, we used to have a puppy, didn't we?" This remark is accompanied by an ominous background noise and a buzzing sound akin to a fly.
Daughter, feed the puppy.
Oh yeah, we used to have a puppy, didn't we?
Now, while not explicitly stated, Gaz's comment suggests the possibility that the Membrane family once had a dog, but had seemingly forgot about it. The eerie background noise and buzzing sound might hint at the morbid possibility of the puppy being, gone, which is pretty dark. Knowings. I think that's how you say that. Oh, good God, I probably butchered that too. According to the Invader Zim Bible, the Urkins were originally referred to as the Knowings, which, again, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. I'm gonna get roasted in the comments, but, you know, that's just the price I pay for trying to say new words. But anyways, bada bing, bada boom, layer 4 is done. I'm gonna go get a snack real quick.
I'm gonna be sick!
10 minutes to doom, bad ending. To recap, since I last talked about this in the scrapped episode layer, there was an unfinished episode of Invader Zim titled 10 Minutes to Doom, where it would have been revealed that Zim can only live for 10 minutes without his pack equipped. Dib steals it, and Zim only has 10 minutes to retrieve it back before he perishes. Meanwhile, Dib has to remove the pack before Zim's soul consumes his body. Well, 10 Minutes to Doom almost became the series finale. Allegedly, the original plan for the episode was for both Zim and Dib to die, thus creating a clean ending. However, Nickelodeon rejected the idea in case the series ever came back, since they understood how loved the series really was. So the Christmas special became the series finale, which was a great call since the series did return for the comic series and the movie. Tack cut from Enter the Florpus. In the early press release for Enter the Florpus, it was mentioned that voice actress Olivia Diabo, I hope I said that right, would reprise her role as Tack. However, these releases did not explicitly state that Diabo would voice Tack's ship, possibly to avoid revealing spoilers. This could suggest that her character was intended to have a more significant role in the film. Several months after the official premiere of Invader Zim Enter the Florpus, voice actors Ricky Simons and Richard Horvitz attended GalaxyCon, Minneapolis 2019. During a Q&A panel, a fan inquired about Tack's potential return for the series. Both Horvitz and Simons revealed that Tack was originally planned to appear in Enter the Florpus as a Mu Ping 10 prisoner who escapes. However, her scene was ultimately removed due to time constraints.
She was actually had a bigger part in the movie, actually, but for time they had to edit out a whole thing with her.
Tack is actually in the space prison.
Yeah.
And that's why her spaceship gets so excited to go back to the space prison to break her out.
But that was in the script.
That's what her spaceship was doing, was breaking out Tack.
Yeah.
Apart from the insights provided by Horvitz and Simons, there has been no additional information regarding these unreleased scenes. It's possible that maybe Jonan mentioned Tack returning in an interview or a podcast, but I sadly cannot find anything about that. Whether these Tack scenes were fully animated and cut at the last minute is beyond me as well. If they do exist, I'm sure all of us would love to see them. Dib raised the dead. In a certain period of his existence, there was an instance where Dib attempted to resurrect the deceased. This is alluded to by Professor Membrane on 2 occasions in the episode Backseat Drivers from Beyond the Stars. It can be implied that he succeeded, given Membrane's exclamation of,
There better not be any walking dead up there!
It's worth mentioning that in the episode A Room with a Moose, there's a moment where Miss Bitters hints at the existence of isolated zombie groups from an undisclosed era that fed on human flesh. This insinuation implies that the world of Invader Zim acknowledges the reality of zombies, indicating that a zombie epidemic may have occurred in human history within the show's universe. The initial appearance of these beings is documented in the episode FBI Warning of Doom. Sergeant Slab Rankle is allegedly responsible for their creation, having formed an army using individuals he had apprehended for breaking the rules over time. These individuals were seemingly transformed into these creatures through a new zombie lab situated at the mall's rear. So is it possible that Dib was responsible for the alleged epidemic and maybe played a role in aiding the creation of the new zombie lab?
No, probably not. Invader Zim has a pretty loose continuity.
It's fun to talk about this stuff though. It's fun to brainstorm ideas. The Martians. The Martians, once native to Mars, were a highly advanced species known for their ambitious project of transforming their entire planet into a goddamn spaceship, which is very impressive to me. Sadly, their pursuit of this technology led to their extinction, leaving only a holographic instruction manual on their Mars ship. These Martians had distinctive large heads with compacted facial features and a dominant forehead, indicating their exceptional brain size. That's a load of baloney. I got a big head and I'm not that smart. However, despite their intelligence, they overlooked the consequences of their actions, driven by the notion of making their planet a goddamn spaceship. Surprisingly, the Martian encountered by Zim was unusually friendly, unlike typical portrayals of Martians in pop culture. Usually when people think of aliens, they think of them as like evil, they're gonna take over the world, all that jazz. But hey, it's nice to know that the Martians in Invader Zim were pretty cool. The state of the Florpus hole. The status of the Florpus, whether it eventually closed or continued expanding, remains uncertain. My guess is that the Florpus is still growing. However, a more intriguing question arises as to why another Florpus hole did not emerge when Professor Membrane restored Earth to its original orbit. One might expect such a significant planet-wide teleportation to trigger a similar outcome. I guess one possibility is that the event occurred within the Florpus, causing a cancellation of its usual effects. Maybe? I don't know. I'm brainstorming. Xmas Uncut. The most horrible Xmas ever has 2 versions, a cut and an uncut version. The cut version of this episode aired on Nickelodeon, but the uncut version of the special was released on DVD. Some differences between the cut and uncut versions are that, in the uncut version, at the beginning of the episode, the text Earth 2 million years into the future appears in the lower right corner of the screen instead of the bottom center. Besides that, there were of course several other notable differences and omitted elements like dialogue changes, different music, and alternate sound effects. Now, I mentioned previously that Mini-Moose was supposed to be introduced in the unfinished episode, Nubs of Doom, but was instead introduced in this episode. Well, the show's crew had originally planned for there to be a montage of scenes from earlier episodes with Mini-Moose crudely inserted. It was a joke to show he had truly been there the whole time, but they didn't have time to do that, unfortunately. There are quite a number of differences between these 2 versions, so instead of me just listing each individual difference, I would suggest you go home, you grab a couple Go-Gurts from your fridge, you sit down, you put on these 2 episodes back to back, and you get wild, baby. Irkin capitalization. The term irk signifies to provoke or to cause annoyance, which interestingly aligns with Zim's often bothersome demeanor. Jordan Vasquez has mentioned that Irkins employ uppercase letters because they intentionally exude annoyance. This clarifies the consistent use of capital Z, capital I, and capital M in official voice transcripts for Zim's name, implying that this uppercase convention likely extends to all Irkins, who likely write their names in a similar manner. God Save the Dib. God Save the Dib denotes a sequence of significant alterations that Dib's visual representation underwent in the initial season of Invader Zim. Dib holds a special place as Jonan Vasquez's favorite character, yet the initial depiction didn't align with his vision, prompting Vasquez to offer some pointers to the artists refining Dib's appearance. Vasquez shared insights on modifications involving aspects like the neck, arms, forehead, and other elements, all aimed at enhancing Dib's comedic appearance. The term humorously parodies the phrase, "God Save the Queen," underscoring the noteworthy adjustments made to refine Dib's design. An evident outcome stemming from God Save the Dib was the decision to enlarge Dib's head in proportion to his body, which ultimately became a running gag throughout the show. Iggins was supposed to die. Iggins is a self-absorbed and highly energetic character who serves as the primary antagonist in the episode Game Slave 2. He seizes the final Game Slave 2 console, initially intended for Clarence Wong and subsequently for Gaz. Fueled by anger, Gaz relentlessly pursued and instilled fear in Iggins until he emotionally conceded the gaming system. Originally, in the conclusion of Game Slave 2, Iggins was intended to meet a non-graphic demise in an elevator crash. However, you know, Nickelodeon vetoed the concept. They always do. What's Nickelodeon have against death? I don't get it. This wouldn't mark Iggins' sole escape from death, as evidenced by the initial ending of the episode Walk for Your Lives, where he was also scripted to meet his end, as disclosed by the DVD animatics. Everything Can Be Beaten. Everything Can Be Beaten is a book written by Jonan Vasquez under his pseudonym Canker Skolux and illustrated by Crab Scrambly. That's a dope name. Bored of a life spent mistreating an endless supply of kittens, It ventures outside and discovers a world entirely new to him. Though he is at first elated to find a place full of wonder and happiness, It soon realizes that he can never belong in this welcoming, joyful land. Alone in paradise, he is despondent and depressed until he realizes that, indeed, everything can be beaten, even in this strange new world. And that's what I like to call the end of Layer 5. Haha!
Why was there bacon in the soup? I made it myself!
Unused opening themes. Prior to the final version of the opening theme song, two early versions were produced by Michael Tavera and Mark Tortorisi, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. If you want to hear the full version of these openings, check out YouTuber Anthony Casemiro, as they uploaded both unused openings to their channel. Gaz is not goth. In the show, Gaz is portrayed with short, straight purple hair and is seen wearing a short black dress with striped gray sleeves, striped reddish leggings, black shoes, and a skull-shaped necklace. Many fans assumed she was a goth due to her appearance, but Jonan Vasquez did not intend her to be perceived as such. So to alter the impression fans had of her, he redesigned her appearance for the comic series. In the comics and the movie Enter the Florpus, Gaz now sports a teal t-shirt featuring a white pixelated video game design resembling a rabbit skull, a black skirt, and thick gray boots. Gur animated shorts. In 2011, Nickelodeon approached Ricky Simons to create Gur shorts, but negotiations broke down, leading to no production. According to Simons, one possible reason for the project's failure was the challenge of featuring Gur as a standalone character. He expressed uncertainty about how to portray Gur without other familiar elements around him. During Long Beach Comic-Con in 2019, Simons mentioned that the idea of doing Gur by himself might have been a bit peculiar, making it difficult to develop the shorts successfully. Jeopardy question. Invader Zim was featured as a clue on the July 29th, 2013 episode of Jeopardy. The clue was for $2,000 under the category, What a Character, and it read, Urk is the home planet of this title invader.
Tragically, none of the contestants were able to answer the question correctly. Nicktoons Caught on Tape. Nicktoons Caught on Tape were shorts or bumps that aired in the early 2000s and featured fan-favorite Nickelodeon characters like the Rugrats, CatDog, SpongeBob, and of course, Invader Zim. In the Invader Zim shorts, we could see Zim struggling to get a drink out of the vending machine in the Nickelodeon break room. Nightmare Dib and Clembrain. Nightmare Dib from the episode Halloween Spectacular of Spooky Doom and Clembrain from Enter the Florpus have some pretty similar attributes, at least face-wise. Clembrain and Nightmare Dib share the same lobotomy scar on their forehead and a similar big-headed mouth. A through Zim Weekend. A through Zim Weekend was a special weekend where Nicktoons Network aired one episode of almost every single show they aired at the time on the three-headed monster block. The marathon went from Friday, June 30th, 2006 to Sunday, July 2nd, 2006. The final show to premiere during the weekend was the Invader Zim episodes A Room with a Moose and Hamstergeddon. Zim's Initiation Ceremony. In the episode Attack of the Saucer Morons, Zim attempts to recover his voot by becoming a member of the Children of the Bright and Shining Saucer. However, to join their ranks, Zim must successfully complete a mysterious initiation. Unfortunately, this initiation was intended to be shown in the episode, but was eventually cut due to time constraints. So, what was the initiation? Judging by all of the squealing and sound effects, I'd say that Zim was probably probed. He was definitely probed, but your guess is as good as mine. Professor Membrane is a gamer. In the episode Nano Zim, the controls of the nanoship bear a striking resemblance to Gaz's game slave. This similarity hints at the possibility that Professor Membrane might either be or was a gamer himself. Another clue supporting this idea is found in the episode Game Slave 2, where Professor Membrane expresses the belief that video games can enhance hand-eye coordination and positively influence children. Additionally, in issue 1 of the comics, there is an image where he is seen playing a video game with Gaz, further suggesting his interest in gaming. Chuck from Panty and Stocking. So, there's this adult anime called Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, which follows two sisters as they destroy ghosts in order to collect enough heaven coins to return to heaven, which they were kicked out from due to bad behavior. Now, look, I'd be lying if I told you guys that I was a fan of this series. In fact, I only watched like 2 episodes with this one person I used to talk to who introduced me to it. It's a weird anime. It's weird. It's not my kind of anime. It's not my style. I respect you if you like it. Personally, it's not my cup of tea. However, from my understanding, there is a character in the series named Chuck, or Piggy, who is Panty and Stocking's pet sidekick. He's a green dog with zippers for ears and a tail. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Does this little guy remind you of another green dog? Yeah, so it's most likely that Chuck's design was based off of Gurr in his disguise form. Which, hey, that's pretty cool. Neopets. I came across a Reddit thread a few weeks back where user Harry Jules, I think that's their name, Harry Jules, haha. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I came across a Reddit thread where this user pointed out that Urkins from Invader Zim resemble Grundos, which are an alien Neopet from the popular online game Neopets, if any of you guys remember that. They noted some striking similarities between the two species, such as the green skin and red eyes. Let's Get Alienated. Let's Get Alienated is an Invader Zim bumper that debuted on Nickelodeon. It likely aired immediately after a commercial break before the second episode of the half-hour block was shown.
Let's get alienated.
Invader Zim is back.
Invader Zim's Flip and Spin of Doom. Invader Zim's Flip and Spin of Doom is a now defunct car ride at Nickelodeon Universe at American Dream Mall. The ride was a prototype and has since been removed. The following footage of the ride was uploaded to YouTube by Theme Park Archive, who documents amusement park rides. Mamma mia, that's what I like to call Layer 6. Woohoo, yeah. Dark Harvest Murder. This entry was originally in the first layer, but I decided to shove it right at the bottom because the story really grosses me out personally. You know, it makes me feel a bit queasy on the inside, and I don't really want to start off a video on one of my favorite shows with something very tragic.
Disclaimer, if you can't handle grotesque stuff, just skip to the next entry. If you're watching this video during the premiere, mute the video or click off the video for a couple of minutes as well. Dark Harvest is widely recognized as one of the darkest episodes of Invader Zim, and it could be considered among the darkest episodes in any children's cartoon series. The reason for this darkness lies in the episode's plot, where Zim resorts to stealing his classmates' organs and replaces them with objects like gaming consoles, a heat radiator, and TV remotes in a bid to appear more human. This episode was referenced in court by a teenager named Scott Deleski, who in 2005 entered the home of his female neighbor Pamela Vitale and, well, played a game of Operation with her, if you will. He mentioned being inspired by the fateful episode. Scott will be eligible for parole in 2030. Fingers crossed he doesn't get it, though. Recap Kid's identity. Recap Kid is a hyperactive, talkative child meant to be an exaggerated parody of the Invader Zim fanbase, who was introduced in the very first issue of the Invader Zim comic series as a way to inform the reader of the plot of the story if they have never seen the TV series. They've since appeared in every monthly issue of the comic, but never appeared in the quarterly issues. The reason why I bring this up is that Recap Kid's gender, even species, is a mystery. When questioned about the gender of Recap Kid, Moss Lawton, also recognized as Dino Lich, responded with the concise statement, "Recap Kid is a kid." So, who is Recap Kid? Well, Recap Kid is probably the friends we made along the way. No, in all seriousness, I believe Recap Kid was left with basically zero identity because, as described before, they're an exaggerated parody of the Invader Zim fanbase. They basically represent all of us and our love for the series. Recap Kid could essentially be anybody. Invader Zim, Born Again Christian. Invader Zim, Born Again Christian is the third creation penned by Marissa the writer, renowned for her It's My Life series, which is apparently an infamous Portal fanfic. The narrative follows Gloria Deschanel, or Deschanel. I'm gonna butcher names and I apologize. The younger sister of Zoe or Zooey Chanel, as she navigates the realms of Invader Zim and Johnny the homicidal maniac. In this tale, Zim undergoes a transformation to Christianity, while Gloria and Nee, who share the same faith, become a couple. Simultaneously, Dib embarks on a quest to find a group called Teen Raggers due to unavailability of aid from the Swollen Eyeball Network. This was an entry featured on one of the other charts that I used to make my own, and I thought it was very interesting, and I just wanted to include it on here. I'm not one to read fan fictions of my favorite TV shows. I try and stay away from that stuff because it kind of scares me. But as soon as I saw the words Invader Zim, Born Again Christian, I just had to look into this. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not what I expected. Dib and Mr. Crocker. Is Dib from Invader Zim just a young Mr. Crocker from Fairly Odd Parents who turned his obsession from aliens to fairies? No, that is not the case, but they do share some similarities. You can't deny that. The tallest aren't tall. In an interview with the voice actor for Tallest Red, Wally Wingert, he mentioned that he believes the tallest aren't really tall, but are smaller Urkins wearing robot suits to make them taller. Allegedly, there was even a scrapped episode which would have confirmed this idea. However, Wingert's claims have never been proven as canon, though this theory would make a lot of sense, at least to me. Their suits look very robotic. Maybe Red and Purple are just shorter than the average Urkin, maybe even tinier than Zim, but were chosen by the control brains and were given the robotic suits with arm extensions to appear taller and larger. Who really knows at this point? Professor Membrane is cursed. You know, I just have this strong tingle in my prostate that makes me believe Professor Membrane is cursed. Maybe cursed to work on science experiments for eternity.
There are no curses, son!
The Underground Classroom. The Underground Classroom is an unseen location within the Invader Zim series. Its existence is revealed in the episode Tack, the Hideous New Girl, when Brian is sent there by Miss Bitters, with Poonchi subsequently taking his place. It's implied that Brian basically died, though he can be seen clinging to the head of Peaches in the episode The Most Horrible Xmas Ever. Tumblr user ZimGal4Eva posted a theory which states that the underground classrooms are a large network of caverns which span across the city and are filled with hungry monsters of all shapes and sizes waiting for their next meal, aka the school children. God, that's dark. That's deep. That's dark and deep. Like a cave. Zim failed his mission. As the most horrible Xmas ever is narrated from Earth 2 million years into the future, it serves as evidence that Zim's attempts to conquer the Earth ultimately ended in failure. And apparently there are now talking snowmen. That's terrifying. Get away from me. Blue and Zim are friends. I know this is a massive stretch, which is why I placed this at the bottom of the iceberg, but doesn't this ghost figure look like Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? This screenshot was taken from Enter the Florbus, by the way.
The moose is the most powerful villain.
Now I know what you're thinking. What makes this moose terrifying? Well, walnuts are extremely rich in dietary fiber. They're like a natural laxative. Now imagine being enclosed in a room with a moose eating them. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. Furthermore, there's also the unsettling idea that the moose might snap and develop a craving for flesh. Or the moose could trample you as well. Moose are big. Meese? Is that the plural for... it doesn't matter. They're big. It's very possible that this moose is, in fact, the true villain of Invader Zim. Keith. Between 2005 and 2006, Nicktoons Network released a promo for Invader Zim, starring a man named Keith, who apparently has an unnatural obsession with Invader Zim, at least according to the narrator. This is because he is seen hanging around with a cutout of Zim, playing chess, listening to music, and even playing ping pong. Oh my god, are you kidding me? You know, I just have one final question. Where do I get that Invader Zim cutout? Alright, that was the final layer. Whoopee. Yay.
I gotta sing the Doom song now. Doom, 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 doom.
Well guys, that about wraps up today's iceberg video. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you very much for being patient with me while I worked on this long video. It took way longer than I expected, but I'm glad it's finally done. Special thanks to Lucian for helping out with Layer 3. If you guys want to do me a solid, go check out the Weekly Geekly and Deathcast to hear more from him. I'll throw all of his links in the bio below. Quick shout out once again to the following chart makers on screen for aiding in the creation of my chart. And hey, if you guys enjoyed today's video, then please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new around here, click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a brand new video, follow me on all of my social links, and join my Discord server. All links in the bio below. Have a great day, everyone, and remember that aliens are real.